Hey guys, Kenny Wisdom here, and today we're going to be going over Jit Min's uh, Plasma Yeti Landorus deck that he calls Jit Min Hosei 2 that he recently won the Malaysian Regional Championship with. Um, Jit designed this deck along with another Singapore player named Joey Ho, which is where the deck name comes from. And getting right into it, you can see that it has the makings of a basic Yeti deck. We have Snorlax, which is there for block and Team Pact. Team Pact can do a lot of damage, even though it costs a lot of energy with all the Plasma Pokemon you're playing, and block can prevent your opponent's active Pokemon from retreating, slowing them down a bit, and buying you some time. Lugia is one card that's been good in various levels since its inception, but I think this gets insane now. Um, as you can see, Plasma Gale doing 120 and costing a Plasma Energy to be discarded, and then Overflow, allowing you to take one more prize when the Pokemon gets knocked out. So, if you're unfamiliar with how this type of deck works, obviously 4 for 120 requiring a specific type of energy to be attached and then discarded is not exactly the most powerful effect in the game, but when you combine it with Deoxys, whose ability Power Connect makes it so all your Team Plasma Pokemon attacks do 10 more damage, and this little guy, which I think is one of the best cards in the recent XY set, Muscle Band, which makes attacks of the Pokemon as cards attach you 20 more damage. You can see that this Plasma can get big real fast. If you have 3 Deoxys on the bench with a Muscle Band attached, it's 170, enough to knock out a lot of the X's. If you have 4 DX on the bench, it's 180, enough to knock out all of the X's and take 3 prizes. So that's half the game won right there. We're going to talk about Lugia and how that works more in a little bit. Moving on to the other Pokemon, as I said, 4 Deoxys, great for Power Connect. Can also use Helix Force with all the Prism energy we're running, but mainly used for its power connect ability, boosting up your Pokemon's damage. Thundurus is kind of the main engine of the deck. You want to have a Thundurus start. You want to Raiden Knuckle as early as possible. You want to get energy in the discard pile with an Ultra Ball, and then just start Raiden Knuckling to a Lugia or to whatever else you need, and really start getting at the Pokemon as quick as possible. Genesect is mainly used for its Red Signal ability. Attaching a Plasma Energy from your hand lets you switch one of your opponent's active Pokemon, so it acts as a kind of a catcher when you attach a Plasma Energy, which we run plenty of. It can also use Megalo Cannon, because of the Prism Energy. I don't think it's really what you want to be doing, but it does allow you to play some type advantage there. And then Absol, which is a card that's been good in various forms since it came out, but now I think, again, with the inclusion of Muscle Band, it gets so good. Mind Jack does 20 damage plus 20 more damage for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon, and then you're able to attach a Muscle Band to it, have the X on the bench, and just be doing a lot of damage with a non-EX Pokemon. So, um, really one of the a good card for kind of um, if you're in a weird spot in the game, you can just throw an EX up there and start knocking out EX or doing a lot of damage. Um, and the thing that makes Jitmin's list different from others, obviously this is the first list we've seen in the XY format, but the thing that really stood out to me, one of the things I guess, is a Landorus EX. So Landorus is one of my favorite cards. It's been a very efficient, powerful card since it came out, and with Hammerhead doing 30 and 30 to the bench, it was very good. When Electric was around, it was very good versus the old Darkrai decks. And in this deck, it works for a few things. First of all, Hammerhead is a great early game attack, especially setting up a Lugia KO. You know, if you can't get all the 4 Deoxys out, or you can't get a Muscle Man on your Lugia, Hammerheading once or twice, softening up an EX Pokemon, and then knocking it out with Lugia is a great way to do things. Additionally, Land's Judgment, being able to do 3 for 80 is not the best, but it's still a perfectly reasonable attack. And then doing 150, being able to discard all your energy, is great. Can knock out most things with a Muscle Band. Again, it knocks out more things. Just a very powerful card that kind of works in many different ways for the deck. The one downside, I think, to playing Landorus is the popularity of both Plasma Curum, which takes care of Landorus very easily, and Keldeo EX, which also takes care of Landorus very easily. Um, those decks, the Plasma deck that runs Kyurem and Blastoise Keldeo, have both been very popular lately. And obviously, you have the argument of you just don't play it, right? If you play against those decks, you just don't play your Landorus down. You discard it to an Ultra Ball, whatever. But if you start with it, or you're forced to play it for some reason, or it's just another liability against those decks. I still think its inclusion is probably better. I think there's a lot of interesting things for the format, but that's always something to be careful of. And then moving on to the rest of the list, I just let's go in order. We have two Colors Machine, great for accelerating your energy on the Lugia, cheating out Lugias as it is, um, or putting it on a Absol to attack earlier, just anything. Really, your main strategy is used for Lugia, but it's just great. It's acceleration and deck thinning. You can also start to Snorlax. I apologize for that. Snorlax boosts up its team pack power or attack. Sorry. Just a great card. One Enhanced Hammer gives you a little bit of game versus the other Plasma decks. They're playing Prisms and Plasmas and all those other energy cards. Some decks are playing DCEs right now, and you can't play too many Enhanced because you don't want to have just totally dead cards versus all the decks that don't run special energy. But one Enhanced here is a good hedge just versus the decks that do. We have three Max Potion here. All apologies for having two different types. If anyone has the normal Max Potion, hit me up because we just have had two and one randomly like this, and I really want to fix it. But anyway, uh, Max Potion's great. I mean, you're gonna have you have a lot of interesting kind of plays with this deck. Obviously, against a Pokemon like a Snipe, like an opposing Landorus EX or a Darkrai EX, you can just heal all the damage off. Additionally, with your own Landorus EX, you can Land Judgment, discard all your energy, and then Max Potion the next turn, and just kind of Max Potion for free, as it were. And then just randomly, you're gonna have a Thunderous active often that takes a few hits, and you don't want to get Catcher knocked out later or whatever, and you can just heal that off. Max, you just have the room to run Max Potion in this deck, and I just think it's great. Professor's Letter is one of those cards that um, a couple months ago we were all playing Energy Search, and we all thought it was a fine card, and then they printed Professor's Letter and just printed a direct upgrade. Um, there's no reason if you're a newer player, just so you know, I've seen a little talk about this card on the internet lately. There's no reason not to run Energy Search, or sorry, there's no reason not to run Energy Search over this card. Professor's Letter lets you get 2 energy. It lets you even fail and only get 1 energy if you don't want it there in your deck too much, or if there's some other reason that you need to keep it in your deck. So just a direct upgrade to Energy Search. Scramble Switch is pretty much the aspect that everyone plays in this deck. It makes the most sense when you know, um, you have all these Pokemon that have high energy costs, and all these Pokemon that might have energy attached to them at some point. You have two Prisms and a normal energy on this Landorus, but it's getting a little injured, so you scramble switch it into a Snorlax and attach. There's just a lot of play that this deck allows you to make. And it also combos well with Max Potion, getting all the energy off that damaged Pokemon and then being able to Max Potion it. To switch, you need switch effects. Landorus has high retreat cost as a Snorlax, and you don't, especially because you don't run any Keldeo, you definitely want to play switch effects to get out of the condition locks. One Plasma Ball. It's not really your premier way of searching. Ultra Ball is, because Ultra Ball allows you to discard energy, and which is great for filling up um, Thunderous' attack, and it also lets you discard dead cards that you're not really going to want, like this Enhanced Hammer or whatever else in the matchup. But these two cards are definitely going to be your premier searchers. Plasma Ball just lets you, in a pinch, just works and lets you get any of your Pokemon besides Landorus out when you need it. Often, Plasma Ball is used to find one of your Deoxyses or your Genesects if you need that. If you need that effect of the power boost or the red signal. Two Tool Scrapper. I think it's just a hedge versus how important tools are right now. If you look at the metagame, you have muscle bands everywhere. Muscle bands one of the biggest tools, one of the best tools in recent memory. You have silver bangles in a lot of decks. You have silver mirrors in a lot of decks, which just completely shuts down plasma. You have Garbodor decks running any kind of tool just to slap on a Garbodor. You have float stones. You just have a lot of tools you need to be taken care of. And I'm not sure. I think you can probably exist with having one. I think abilities are very important in this deck, which is Garbodor. But against anything else, I don't think you really are going to need two. I think you can easily cut to one. But for going into a blind format as Jit did, I would probably play two as well. I talked about Ultra Ball. Moving on to the stadiums, this is another strange thing, or an unorthodox thing at the very least. We have a Sky Arrow Bridge, which gives all your basic Pokemon one less retreat. So it's the Absol retreats for free. Landorus still has to pay 2. Genesect retreats for free. Thundurus retreats for free. Deoxys still has to pay 1. Lugia still has to pay 1. And Snorlax still has to pay a bunch. But Sky Arrow just acts as kind of a pseudo switch. It allows you to, again, most of your Pokemon in this deck are retreating for 0 or 1, so it just allows you to play so much looser with what you're doing. It fixes bad starts. I really like the card. I think it was a really good inclusion. And then Tropical Beach, probably the best stadium card ever printed. Um, this was probably when we were watching the stream, which you can watch the stream on our Twitch TV page at twitch.tv/onthebubble, and they'll be on our YouTube page, I think after this video comes out, but hopefully very soon after. But anyways, when the stream was going on, a lot of people were commenting on the Tropical Beach because we haven't really seen any plasma decks. Most of the reason you play Tropical Beach is going to be for trying to set up a stage 2. You want to get Tropical Beach out early, play it on turn 1, draw a bunch of cards, and use it to fuel your engine. And in this deck, that can happen, but what's more likely to happen is that during the mid game, say you have a really early start, you take a good advantage, you take 2 or 3 prizes with Lugia, and then your opponent knocks out your Lugia, or your opponent starts to get ahead. You can beach, and then they end you low too, so you have 2 or 3 cards in hand, 4 cards in hand. You can beach and kind of set that up for a few turns, let your opponent get ahead a little bit, but you're gaining so much card advantage by a beach, and you can come back and win the game. And Jit did that on Stream a few times. It's a very powerful card, and I really like its inclusion in here. You wouldn't think it's good in a very aggressive deck, but in a very aggressive deck that has to put a lot of its resources into one Pokemon often, having that Pokemon be knocked out can be devastating, and beach is where you want to be a lot of the time. Additionally, even if you are ahead, like if you're very ahead, but you maybe you don't have a lot of cards in hand, or you don't really have a good plan for the next turn, but you're so far ahead you can afford to wait a turn or two, Tropical Beach is exactly where you want to be. One Floatstone. Again, we don't have any effects, so Sky Arrow, Switch, and Floatstone all kind of acts as a way to switch out. I think that might be a little. I think that all 4 of those effects probably aren't necessary, but I do like the Floatstone. If I was going to test a list, I might test it with 1 Switch, 1 Floatstone. Not quite sure, but Floatstone is definitely a very powerful card. And Muscle Band. Muscle Band is very quietly what makes this deck possible, and I think is going to be a huge player in the rest of the format. Obviously, it's a Dark Claw for Aether Pokemon. Dark Claw is already good. Of course, Muscle Band's going to be good, but I think that few people, including myself, really understood how important Muscle Band was going to be. In the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be exploring the format. I'm going to be posting some battle towers, posting some more deck profiles, talking about the game a lot, and Muscle Band is something you're going to see over and over again in the aggressive decks. You know, Muscle Band is the whole reason why Lugia got that much better. Same with Snorlax, same with Absol. In other decks, a Muscle Banded Virizion knocks out a Sableye now, sets up KOs for Genesect easier. Just Muscle Band is a very, very important card, and that's why Jit is running 3 of it. Definitely pick these up while you can. The reverse foil version is very expensive now, so definitely try and get your hands on that. Moving into the supporter suite, we have 4 Juniper, 4 N, 4 Skyla, 2 Colorus, and 1 Shadow Triad. Obviously, Juniper is the best supporter in the game, and N is very strong that you get out of bad situations. Skyla is necessary because it lets you search for all these trainers. Skyla, turn 1 Skyla for a Beach, Skyla for a Sky Arrow, Skyla for a Professor Letter. It just lets you get whatever you want. It doesn't have the raw draw power of Juniper, but it is pinpointed search and very, very powerful. 2 Colorus. Your bench is probably gonna be pretty full. You have a Thundurus active, 2 Deoxys on the bench, and a Lugia as well as an Absol is not uncommon. So being able to Colorus for 6, 7, 8 is not uncommon at all. I really like this supporter suite. 15 total. Yeah, 15 total. And sorry, the Shadow Triad is also used to just buy back a Plasmite anytime. There's a lot of neat tricks you can do with Shadow Triad, and you can't really count it in your supporter. Just a little deck building tip. I think most decks right now, want to have about 14 supporters, sometimes 13, but you can't really count Shadow Triad as one of them because it doesn't really gain you any advantage. It doesn't really gain you a lot of card advantage, especially if you're not playing bicycles. So you definitely want to. Shadow Triad is very powerful and it's a very good card to have, but you definitely want to be careful about, if you're only playing 13 draw supporters or 12 draw supporters and Shadow Triad, I think you might run into some consistency issues. Um, Moving on to the energy, 3 Prism, obviously you need it for all these colored attacks you have. 4 Plasma, the best energy in your deck, powers up Lugia, powers up Red Signal. Um, 3 Double Colorless, the deck probably would not function without DCE. It lets you power up Lugia faster, it lets you power up Snorlax faster, etc., etc. 2 Lightning is necessary for Thunderous. You just want to have as many outs to Lightning as possible in the early game that don't die to Enhanced Hammer. And then 1 Fighting for the Landorus. Again, just a way to be able to Professor Letter it out, attach it to a Landorus. Doesn't get Enhanced Hammer away, etc. So as you can see, this is a deck. I think that this deck is going to be a major player going into the format. Um, I think that it was already a good deck. It was already maybe the best deck, and then it got all of these tools to help it out, and Muscle Band and such, and Professor's Letter. So definitely know how to test against this deck, know how to play with it, know how to play against it. Just definitely be prepared for this deck. I'm going to be posting a Battle Tower probably next week with this deck. I might make some changes to the list, but I'm going to be posting that up, and we're going to see how it goes. I think it's going to be a major player, so again, prepare for it. Congratulations to Jitmin, and thanks to him for sharing a list. Um, be on the lookout for those those Malaysia videos going up on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/OnTheBubblePokemon if you want to watch that within the next couple days. And thank you for watching. I love you. Good night.